Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of CEO and Market Expert Interviews. I'm your host, Lucian. Some of you know me as Triangle Investor from X. My guest today is Keith Bodnarchuk, CEO of Cosa Resources. Keith, as always, it is great to have you, and welcome back.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Thanks. I want to start with your general thoughts on the current uranium market and recent pullback. What happened?
Well, I mean, fundamentally, the uranium market remains as strong as ever. You've seen just all the positive news flow that continues on the demand side. U.S. announcing that they want to double their nuclear power capacity over the long term. And there's other countries doing similar things. So, I mean, fundamentally, it is as strong as ever. But you're right, you have seen a recent pullback. That's largely a product of the spot price coming back to low 80s. Spot price, as you know, is a fraction of the overall uranium market that is traded. But it did come back to the low 80s. But importantly, what you saw was that people came in on the bid at that moment, and they actually pushed it back up above 85 quite quickly. And more importantly, in the background, the term market continues to remain as strong as ever and continue to push upward, which is, a stronger indicator of what's really happening in the background of the uranium sector. And equities wise, I mean, going back to that, I think you've seen, the discrepancy that has existed between the uranium juniors and really the rest of the uranium sector continues to grow. Where there was that big discrepancy between the valuations, that's actually increased. And that, to me, just seems like the opportunity is staring us right in the face, where that value hasn't been baked in at all to the uranium juniors. In fact, they've actually even fallen off further here, despite what's happening in the uranium sector. And I think, COSA, obviously being part of that group, but also being uniquely positioned with, our tight cap structure and really background that we have. So I think, at some point, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when that capital finally returns back to these juniors, and you'll see, the significant re-rate in those junior stocks.
Agreed. You have completed winter drilling at Ursa, and you continue with the exploration work as we speak on Ursa and Orion. Can you give us an overview of winter results, and have your expectations been met with this winter drilling?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they've been exceeded, actually, I'd say, our expectations. I think, we've taken a really disciplined approach with Ursa, where we've obviously over the past year, we've done. The one thing about that project was it was lacking modern exploration. And when you do lack that modern exploration, what happens is you have a lot of space, a lot of opportunity to make that massive tier 1 discovery, but you also lack a lot of information. And so what we did was we applied, modern airborne geophysics. We identified 10 key areas. We followed that up with ground geophysics over 5 of those areas. And then we ended up on the Kodiak target area within the Ursa project. Kodiak, we also did a big compilation of boulders in the area, like there had been previous boulder sampling, and the Kodiak area continued to light up from a geophysics standpoint, but also from a boulder anomaly standpoint. And so we added all those layers of information, and that became the first area we focused on. We drilled a fence, 3-hole fence in that area. And I think anytime you enter a new area, your expectation is that you will drill background holes. You'll hopefully be able to use that to help guide you. You maybe hit some interesting stratigraphy or geology. But what happened was we drilled those first 2 holes. They were interesting, some stuff to go by, some good data points. And then we drilled that 3rd hole, and it hit what we're calling, significant alteration and structure higher up in the sandstone. This really exceeded our expectations. This really upgraded that area to us. And for us, to be hitting those kind of results within our first 3 holes is massive for us. And, this UR 2403, our 3rd hole, what it looks like is kind of a classic overshoot where we've hit, this structured alteration high up in the sandstone, and it really gives us a target to immediately follow up when we go back this summer. And so, we're extremely excited by that. This is a great result for our first drill program ever, and it really sets ourselves up to further explore this Kodiak area heading into this summer. So we're extremely excited by that.
Yeah, one important thing with modern exploration, like you said, is ANT, ambient noise tomography. And you, at the moment, you have a survey underway at Ursa and Orion. What are you expecting from this survey, and when do you plan to finish that?
Yeah, so ANT is not a new technology, but it's newer to the basin. You've seen a lot of our peers start to deploy it or in and around the basin, and they've actually had good results following up their ANT targets, where it's done a good job of mapping alteration and structure. So I mentioned we have this third hole where we have that alteration structure high up in the sandstone. We have a follow-up target right there, but then we need, something to guide us on which direction to go from there. Do we head to the northeast? Do we head to the southwest? And we're deploying this ANT because it's known to help map alteration and structure. And when you're kind of, entering and drilling in these areas, you'll have these certain data points with the drill holes, but you got to figure out which direction to head. And it could be a product where maybe we're 400 meters from the sweet spot we're looking for. Maybe it's 500 meters in a different direction. And, this is a cost-effective way for us to really help target. And I think, we are still a junior company. We have to remain extremely disciplined with our drill meters and preserving our budgets. So adding this cost-effective layer to help guide us on to finding that sweet spot, ideally in the Kodiak target area, it was a no-brainer for us to deploy this to really help us for this summer drill program.
Yeah, definitely. Keith, can you walk me through summer drilling? How many meters will be drilled, the duration of the drilling season, drilling targets, testing new areas? Can you expand a bit on that, please?
Yeah, for sure. So we are just finishing up the ANT survey right now. We'll have to wait for results, and that'll really help guide us on the number of meters and holes, and especially where the targets will be in and around the Kodiak area and elsewhere on the Ursa project. And so I encourage people to watch for that news update coming up here in the next while, but we'll be heading out this summer. The program will be larger than our winter program. And so a good thing that Andy and the team did in the winter was they mobilized in all of our summer gear. So the drill's still on site. It's basically turnkey. We have everything sitting right there.
Excellent.
So we can just fly into site, turn the drill on and get going here this summer. So yeah, I encourage everybody to follow, and we'll update the market as soon as we can on the amount of meters and really, more importantly, the targets.
Okay, you have expanded your exploration technical team by bringing Daniel Hrebak, I don't know if I pronounced it right, as a senior project geologist. What is his prior experience, and what does he brings to COSA?
Yeah, so Dan is another veteran of the Athabasca Basin. He spent his entire career at Urano, which is previously Areva.
Wow.
What Dan brings is, our track record, obviously, our groups spent time with NextGen, Denison, ISO Energy, a lot of those junior companies that were managed to have discoveries. But one thing that we didn't have was that major company experience. And Dan could bring a different element on how to look at things. He's also spent time at all of Urano's major projects, Cigar Lake, Kegavik, Shade Creek. And so I think he's kind of an additional layer, but also maybe a bit of that missing piece of the puzzle to add to our technical team. And, obviously my time, Dennis and ISO, this is the strongest technical team I've ever been a part of.
I have to agree with that. So Steve, Andy, Daniel, you, for a junior exploration company, that's really respected.
Yeah, and I think it's a product of all of us having that similar goal in mind of making that next great discovery and doing whatever it takes to get there.
Yeah. What are your exploration plans for your other project beside Ursa and Orion?
So we are doing airborne geophysics on Aurora and Orbit. Those are ones that are located right next to the Key Lake Mill, about 18 kilometers away. We always view these projects as good counterbalances to Ursa and Orion, which are deeper targets. These ones are shallower targets. It would be a lot more cost-effective exploration. But, these are projects that haven't seen really any work since the 1970s. And back then, the target generation, the target models were a lot different than they are now. And so we've seen interesting results in the drill log, especially at Aurora, where they've hit significant structure and alteration. It's just never been followed up. So we're going to generate targets on there. It's very cost effective. We'll have targets ready for 2025. And it's one of those things where we just want to strengthen our pipeline of targets because Ursa is looking fantastic. We have a lot of work left to do there. But if it doesn't show what we like, we'll be ready to move on to another project and have targets ready there.
Yeah, it makes sense. Got it. I saw in your presentation one of your 2024 exploration plans highlights includes continue to strengthen project pipeline. Can you tell me how do you plan to execute that going forward?
Well, I think you'd even just look back to what we've achieved over the past year where we acquired Aurora, expanded our Orion project for really, cost-effective, good acquisitions that really strengthen our pipeline of projects. I think, we're always looking to upgrade that pipeline. We're always remaining active on looking for value creative acquisitions. You have to, right? I think, I've said this in the past, but at ISO Energy, when we were previously there, that was one of the quickest, pathways to discovery for a company, but it's still the 7th project.
Yeah.
Right. And so you have to kind of remain agile and willing to move on to projects and keep looking to upgrade that pipeline to ultimately make that discovery.
Yeah. You have 12 projects now in the portfolio. Have you considered to take a prospect generator model like Sky Harbor or Standard Uranium from recently, or even ASA Energy? Have you considered that maybe?
Yeah, our primary focus is discovery. That's previous companies we've always been with. That's always been our approach, and we've been successful with that. I think when we set out and acquired each of these projects, it was with the goal of us exploring them ourselves. But what's happened is that we've managed to, upgrade our pipeline. So,
Exactly.
but having said that, I think, if we view 1 through 7 of our projects being strong and really adding to our pipeline, we would be willing to look for the right partner on some of those other projects. I think, like I said, it's just a product of us continuing to strengthen our pipeline, and now we'd look to move on from some of those projects, but it would have to be with the right partner that has obviously similar values and strategy as to what we have. And so our focus will always be our biggest catalyst, and our biggest value creator will always be discovery. And I don't really want to take away from that with the team. But having said that, if there are opportunities to partner with somebody on some of our projects we can't get to,
Yeah.
anything that adds value, right? And so, yeah, we
Okay.
would be open to that.
So open for that. Okay. How is your current cash position? Are you fully funded for all your exploration activities for 2024?
Yeah, so we would have finished the winter season, which is north of 7 million in the bank. So we are fully funded throughout the summer program 2024 and into 2025. So we are in a good position cash wise that we can really have a aggressive exploration throughout the course of 2024.
Okay. Can you tell me more about your share registry, which I personally consider one of the best among uranium exploration companies, but I'm biased. So tell me more about your share registry for the investors who maybe are now considered to enter COSA.
Yeah, and so we just have just under 57 million shares outstanding. We've managed to really be a news story in time uranium market and managed to piece together the land package we have without having to really do that large transaction that could really dilute our stock. It's extremely tightly held. Management and team, we control about 23% of the stock still. We continue to buy on market. You can check our SEDI. I just bought, I believe it was last week or the week before. And then importantly, 31% of it would be controlled by a lot of uranium institutions and long uranium funds that have been, supporters of us through previous companies and really look to support us well into the future. So it creates an extremely tightly held cap structure, similar to what we've had in the past, right? With some of our other companies, which when you do have that technical success, or when you do see the uranium price, tailwinds start to pick up, it could really be value accretive for your stock.
Of course. Keith, news flow from the company in the upcoming period. What can we expect? When can we expect?
Yeah, so lots of news flow over the summer here. Obviously, we will be finishing our A&T at Orion and Aurora, which we'll be able to update the market on that. We'll update the market on our targets and plans for the summer drill program, and then importantly, we will be drilling this summer, and we'll be able to update the market on that. And so, lots of news flow occurring throughout the summer.
Okay, can you for the end? Can you summarize why everyone should have COSA at the top of their exploration portfolio?
Okay, well, honestly, I think when you're looking to deploy capital in exploration, a team is a massive thing. You will flip through the projects. The projects will come and go as you continue to work towards discovery, and we're a team that's done it multiple times. I think when you factor in, that we are fully funded throughout 2024. So in the short term, we're in great shape that way. We have that tight cap structure. So then if there are tailwinds in the uranium space that uplift the junior stocks, we will also see that. And so I think when you add all those layers together, we provide that unique opportunity where we have that kind of team timing and, being fully funded with really good assets that we managed to piece together ahead of this uranium boom. I think it creates kind of almost a perfect storm where COSA is really well positioned into this uranium boom.
Okay. How can investors reach out to you, Keith?
You can reach out through our website. There's an email address there. You can send questions to. We check it regularly. Also on social media, we do have an X account or Facebook or any other means like that. You can reach out.
Okay, that was Keith Bodnarchuk, CEO of Cosa Resources. Keith, thank you for coming to my show, and I wish you luck with your projects. Thank you.
Thanks. Always great to be here.